The House will come to order. Prayer by the chaplain.
Today, as we pause for prayer, we begin our time remembering the 4 young ladies who were killed on Monday in a car accident. We remember this day Lauren Peterson, Jordan Plale, Megan Sample, and Danielle Renninger. Let us now each in our own way pause to pray for their families and to pray for all who grieve the loss of a loved one this day. Amen.
Members, our House Chaplain for today is our very own Grady St. Dennis, the House Chaplain. Members, please remain standing and join me as Natalie Davis, Miss Minnesota, leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. The clerk will take the roll. Clerk will close the roll. A quorum is present. Clerk will read the journal for preceding day.
Journal of the House, 87th Session, 2012, 76th day, St. Paul, Minnesota, Wednesday, February 22nd, 2012.
If there are no objections, further reading of the journal will be dispensed with, and the journal will stand as corrected by the Chief Clerk. Hearing no objections, the journal stands as corrected by the Chief Clerk. Reports of standing committees and divisions. A copy of this order of business has been placed on each member's desk. If there are no objections, the reports will be adopted. Hearing no objections, the reports are adopted. Second reading of House files.
Second reading, House File 1956.
Second reading.
Second reading, House File 2158.
Second reading.
Second reading, House File 2216.
Second reading. Introduction of House files. Following House files have been offered for introduction today. The Chief Clerk will report these House files and give them their first reading.
Introduction and first reading of House Files 2467 through 2492.
First reading, House File 2467 through 2492. Calendar for the day. Call on the member from Washington, Representative Dean.
Mr. Speaker, I move the calendar of the day be continued.
Representative Dean moves that the calendar for the day be continued. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion prevails. Motions and resolutions. Copy of the non-controversial motions online and at the House desk. If there are no objections, we will take action on these motions first. Hearing no objections, the motions prevail.
Myra moves that House File 2032 be recalled from the Committee on Taxes and re-referred to the Committee on Transportation Policy and Finance.
Members, if you could please, for 1 minute, please take your conversations to the retiring room or the alcoves. Call on the member from Dakota, Representative Myra, to your motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that House File 2032 be recalled from the Committee on Taxes and be re-referred to the Committee on Transportation Policy and Finance.
Discussion to the Myra motion. Hearing no discussion, the motion, or all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion prevails. Call on the member from Cottonwood, Representative Hamilton, for what? I apologize. The member from Rock, Representative Shoemaker, for what purpose do you rise?
Mr. Speaker, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
State your point of personal privilege, please.
Today is FFA Day on the Hill, and we have many students here from around the state for Minnesota FFA Day. FFA and the agricultural education does provide a strong foundation for the youth of Minnesota and the future of agriculture. They have over 9,000 members in their organization that works to promote premier leadership, personal growth, and career success through career and technical education experiences in secondary agriculture. FFA develops leaders within their chapters, schools, and communities, and will assist in meeting the growing demands in the sciences, business, and technology of Minnesota's agriculture industry. We have a few of our state chapter leaders here on the floor today that I would like to recognize quickly. First, we have the president of the Minnesota FFA with us today, Hillary Kletcher from the Wabasso chapter. We have our Vice President, Andrew Miron, from the Forest Lake chapter. Secretary Katie McNabb from the Waseca chapter. The Treasurer is Tyler Warren from the Litchfield chapter. Our FFA reporter is Chelsea Vilchis from the Hutchinson chapter. And last but not least, the Sentinel for the FFA is Dustin Smith of the Staples Motley chapter.
Call the member from Polk, Representative Keel. For what purpose do you rise?
Point of personal privilege, Mr. Speaker.
State your point of personal privilege, Representative Keel.
Governor Dayton has declared February Career and Tech Month. And I want to point out that career and technical education offers individuals lifelong opportunities as an important part of our education system, both in our high schools and our colleges. And recognize that this is very good for our students. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Member from Meeker, Representative Erdahl. For what purpose do you rise?
Point of personal privilege.
State your point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, Miss Minnesota 2011 is Natalie Davis. Natalie is from Dassel, Minnesota, Meeker County, where the men are stronger, the women more beautiful. She is the daughter of Dave and Corey Davis, and by the way, the niece of former Senator Steve Dill. She's a senior at St. Olaf College and is preparing for a career, I believe, now in communications. Natalie successfully, her community service project is autism awareness. The missing piece, she is passionate about educating people about autism spectrum disorder. Miss Minnesota, Natalie Davis.
Announcements. The member from Hennepin, Representative Thiessen, announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So members, we're a month into the session now as of tomorrow, and I just wanted to get a quick update on kind of the pathway on from here. I don't see Representative Howes. I know he's around, but maybe Representative Scott could answer a question for me.
I'm sorry, Representative Thiessen. Which member were you looking at?
Representative Scott.
Representative
yes.
Scott.
So, thank you.
Will yield. Representative
Thank
Thiessen.
you. I was just wondering, the governor announced his bonding bill almost 5-6 weeks ago now, his proposal. We haven't really seen any action in the House on moving forward on a capital investment bill, a jobs bill that would actually get some people to work. We're a month into the session. I'm just wondering, from your position kind of on the Capital Investment Committee, if you have any idea when you'll start actually digging in and we can expect to start seeing some action on a bonding bill.
Member from Anoka, Representative Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Thiessen, we are having hearings regularly, twice a week, hearing the different bonding requests, so there is movement on the bill. And Representative Howes just entered the room, and you might want to ask him the same question. Thank you.
Member from Hennepin, Representative Thiessen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, and as Representative Howes is getting to a seat, maybe Representative Gunther's not on the floor either. I was going to ask him, we have now 7 very good, Representative Biskins would yield, but we have 7 very specific kind of targeted jobs bills that we put in, had hearing requests in for that would get people back to work, start to work on closing the job skills gap, don't cost any or very little money. I think it's what the people of Minnesota would want us to do. So I was going to ask Representative Gunther when he was going to offer to have hearings on some of these bills. I think they're things that we could move along bipartisanly, and I think it's important that we start to focus in on actually getting people back to work in the state. We haven't done any of that work, and we're a month in. So I won't ask Representative Howes. We were just wondering when we might see a bonding bill coming out of your committee. If you're interested in yielding and have some insight into when we might see a bonding bill, it's been 6 weeks since the governor's announced his plans. So I'll leave it up to Representative Howes.
Representative Howes will yield. The member from Cass, Representative Howes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Thiessen, my personal opinion, I don't want to move a bonding bill until after February 29th. For sure, I want to see the forecast. I want to speak to Representative Holberg, Ways and Means. I want to speak to the Speaker and the Majority Leader and discuss where we go from here. Now the forecast is good, bad, in between. We can plan something. I would say at least 2 weeks after the forecast, we'll start putting the bill together, but we still have a whole lot to hear. And to be fair, I want to hear as many projects as we can. If it looks like we're running out of time, we'll hold hearings in the evening and so we can get all the bills heard.
Member from Hennepin, Representative Thiessen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So from what it sounds like, we will starting to assemble a bill sometime in mid-March, and I know that the Speaker and the Majority Leader and others have said they actually want to get out of session early. I'm sure with the maps coming out, other folks in the chamber now want to maybe end session early. But it sounds like we probably won't even see a bonding bill till sometime in April, if that's the case. And then we're starting to get into construction season. And so, I would guess I would just encourage you to get moving on a bonding bill much more quickly than that. I don't think it's that. From what I'm hearing from what people are saying, people are interested in those infrastructure projects. People are interested in there's a number of Republican bills. I know Representative Banyan has a bill for the St. Cloud Civic Center. I know that there's other, Representative Davids has a bill for the Chatfield Museum. I'm sure we're going to want to start moving on some of those projects all around the state very quickly. And so I'd just encourage you, I guess, Representative Howes, maybe waiting for the forecast, but getting going right after that. Maybe we could see a bill by mid-March and get some of these construction jobs moving.
Member from Cass, Representative Howes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Thiessen and members, as you're well aware, if we were to pass a bonding bill today, MMB cannot by law sell bonds while we are in session. And God forbid we'd pass one tomorrow and then everybody would want to sine die on Monday. I don't think that'll work. So once we pass the bill, everyone's going to know what is in there. There is still money available throughout all the agencies to start funding. When they run out, then they sell the bonds. There's enough money in the pipeline to get us going right away in the spring.
Member from Scott, Representative Biskins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Point of parliamentary inquiry.
State your point of parliamentary inquiry, Representative Biskins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What order of business are we on?
Representative Biskins, we are under announcements.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to announce to the members of this body that currently in the state of Minnesota we have a total, and this is hot off the presses, members, $2,755,534,400 in credit card debt that we as a legislature have authorized and the agencies have not issued yet. Over $2 billion, members, that we have authorized and the agencies haven't even issued yet. If a bonding bill was such a jobs bill and the urgency was so gosh darn important, then I think the governor should be speaking to his agencies and saying, let those bonds get the people to work. Members, I'm also announcing, Mr. Speaker, that early next week I will have a list of which of these projects and where throughout the state, so every member here knows which projects people could be working at in their district that the agency is sitting on their hands on. Mr. Speaker, I announce right now that I'll be bringing this to the floor next week.
Announcements. The member from Mille Lacs, Representative Erickson. Announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Well, we have a job to do by February 29, and that is to fill out our suggestions for program evaluations done by our great Legislative Audit Commission. So please get those in. I think you have another reminder in your boxes today. Remember, the 29th is the drop dead deadline, so let's get those suggestions in. I'm sure there's not a program out there that we can't think of that might need a little evaluating, so let's go for it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Announcements. The member from Wright, Representative McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A point of personal privilege.
State your point of personal privilege.
I have a guest in the House I'd like to introduce who's checking up on me today, my mother, Barbara McDonald.
Thank you for joining us, Mrs. McDonald. Announcements. Announcements. A member from Washington, Representative Dean.
Mr. Speaker, I move that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 3 p.m. Monday, February 27th, 2012.
Representative Dean moves that the House adjourns today, adjourns until 3 p.m. Monday, February 27th, 2012. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The motion prevails. Representative Dean.
I move the House do now adjourn.
Representative Dean moves that the House do now adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The motion prevails. The House stands adjourned until 3 p.m. Monday, February 27th, 2012.